Nicholas Roske, the alleged Supreme Court assassin, is now filing a motion to suppress his statements. He is seeking to have his admissions that he was going to go and kill Judge Kavanaugh thrown out of court. He got a public defender, and today we're going to take a look at the actual motion to suppress, along with the indictment and the affidavit that was filed by the agents who went and actually brought him to justice. You can see that the original date of the violation was on June 8th, 2022. We do have the affidavit, but I also want to spend a little bit of time taking a look at what's happening with this motion to suppress. Of course, right here is Nicholas Roske, and they're now trying to build a defense. Most of this was sort of admitted when he called the police, but now we've got rulings from the judge and we've got orders that have been entered. We've got a trial date that has been scheduled. So let's start by taking a quick look at the actual complaint and the affidavit. Here is, I have these pulled up in this document. Here is the complaint. The criminal complaint was filed back on June 8th, 2022. And you'll notice this, it's got one charge: attempts to kidnap or murder, threaten to assault, kidnap a United States judge, here a United States Supreme Court judge, right? This is coming from Special Agent Ian Montijo. Judge signed off on this, and this is the actual criminal filing. This is the affidavit right now. This is only 3 pages. Typically, these can be a lot longer, but the special agent is submitting this. This is the probable cause statement saying that he's submitting a criminal complaint charging Nicholas Roske with one crime, violation of U.S. Code. He says, "I'm an investigative or law enforcement officer in the United States, and I am empowered to conduct investigations. I've been employed by the FBI since January 2020, and I'm assigned to the Joint Terrorism Task Force. Spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. During my tenure with the FBI, I've gained knowledge in various forms of investigations, and I have become familiar with ways in which persons plan and conduct criminal activities, to include, but not limited to, activities like disguising operations and avoiding detection by law enforcement." So this agent, right, he's got some background here. He can spot out a sneak. Here, on June 8th, he says at 1:05 a.m., 2 U.S. deputy marshals saw an individual dressed in black clothing carrying a backpack and a suitcase. They saw him get out of a taxi cab that stopped in front of a Montgomery County, Maryland residence of the current United States Supreme Court judge. Individual looked at the 2 deputy marshals. They were standing next to their parked vehicle, and he walked down the street. Shortly thereafter that, Montgomery County Communications Center, so the 911 center, fielded a call from an individual named Nicholas John Roske. Roske informed the call taker that he was having suicidal thoughts and he had a firearm in his suitcase. Roske also told the call taker he came from California to kill a specific U.S. Supreme Court judge. Dispatch noted where he was and where he was approaching, and he was taken into custody without incident. Officer seized a backpack and a suitcase. Inventory search of the suitcase revealed a black tactical chest rig, tactical knife, Glock 17 pistol, 2 magazines, ammo, crowbar, pistol, duct tape, hiking boots, and so on. He was transported to the jail, signed a written waiver saying he understood his rights and agreed to speak with the agents. You see that? Speaking with the agents. And he waived those rights. So we'll see what happens there. He told the detective that he was upset about the leak of a recent Supreme Court draft decision regarding the right to abortion, as well as a recent shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Roske indicated he believed the justice intended to kill would side with the Second Amendment decisions and would loosen gun control laws. Roske stated he began thinking about how to give his life a purpose and decided he would kill the Supreme Court justice. He got his address on the internet, and he further indicated that he purchased a Glock pistol for the purpose of breaking in and killing the judge himself. Second interview was conducted at 9:54 a.m. on 2022. Again, advised him of his rights. He waived those rights in writing. Now, he's filing a motion to suppress, so it's not looking good. Let's take a look here in a minute. Conclusion: based on the foregoing, there's probable cause. He submitted that, and of course, he was arrested. So the indictment looks like this. This was actually submitted to a grand jury. They give us a little bit more details on what was found in his backpack. Glock 17 firearm, serial number there. 2 Glock mags, 10 rounds each. Approximately 17 rounds, 9mm ammo. Black speed loader. Streamlight light and taser, serial number. We've got a black pair of hardened tactical gloves. Band holster. Tactical chest rig. Black face mask. Locking pick and burglary tools, right? All of this stuff. He's got a monocular and others. substitute assets you see here, all submitted. And of course, he got arrested. Now, several different interesting things happening here. So the first point on this, okay, you're being prosecuted, and there are several different ways to get a lawyer, and one of those is to get a public defender. Oftentimes, people can't afford lawyers. In fact, most of the time, people can't afford lawyers, and they get public defenders. And we've covered a lot of ground on this channel about, well, covering a lot of different criminal trials, and we've seen some of the most impressive defenses ever, right? We saw what Ghislaine Maxwell, for example, was able to put together, right? We saw what Michael Sussman was able to put together. Very impressive defenses. And now you can see sort of a compare and contrast version of this. Okay, we can see that there were several different motions filed, but this first one is a motion to suppress his statements. And look at the length of this motion. It's only 2 pages. Now, it's still preliminary, right? So this may be a secondary motion. And this is one that kind of is probably being filed early on in the case. And so maybe there's a subsequent one coming. I don't know. But it's only 2 pages. It's not a whole lot here. It says Nicholas Roske allegedly is here, and now he moves to suppress any and all statements, admissions, and confessions, right? All of those things that he just talked about when he waived his rights, he wants to suppress all of that. Whether oral, written, or otherwise, the government, whatever they want to use at trial, we want to throw it out. Discovery, they say, indicates that he made statements to law enforcement, and they want to have this all thrown out. Why? Statements made were not voluntary, is what they're saying. He's entitled to a hearing to determine the voluntariness of those statements, right? Whether he's mentally incompetent or whether he was sort of under duress or coercion. Maybe there was. We don't know. The FBI agent just said he just wrote on that document, like, oh yeah, I'm just going to write on it, and I just signed off on it. But the defense is going to challenge that. And so they've got this sort of initial motion that's being filed, but it's pretty short. If at such hearing, the government fails to establish that the statements were not obtained in violations of its privilege, nor his right, and they were not otherwise voluntary, then they should be suppressed. Not a whole lot of facts in this case, right? Kind of just a blanket motion that was filed by James White, a federal public defender out of the District of Maryland. And they now say that anything that was used against him be suppressed. So I'm going to guess that this doesn't go anywhere very far, but that's that. Now, something else interesting that happened is they are also agreeing to sort of extend the speedy trial length. And this was interesting. I know this is kind of in the weeds for some of us here, but in the United States, we have a right to a speedy trial, right? You have a right. You don't want to turn into Edmond Dantes from the Count of Monte Cristo and be thrown in the Chateau Reef indefinitely until there's a change of power, until you tunnel out of the cell. So it's a thing where you want to make sure that you keep track of time. It's sort of like a game of chess in criminal law. You get to make a move, and then you hit the clock. On the other side makes a move, and they hit the clock. And if you run out of time, well, the case gets dismissed because you've got a right to a speedy trial. And so they're fighting about some of that now. And they're basically agreeing that they're going to waive a bunch of time now. So you'll take a look now. The prosecutor actually agreed with this. Eric Barron, the U.S. attorney, has sort of gotten with the defense. And they've said, we now request with no objection from the defense to waive a big bucket of that time out from the case. So in other words, it's not going to be held accountable against Nicholas Roske, and they're going to have more time to prosecute the entire case. The judge read that and granted it. You can see Peter Massetti here granted that. And then we've got a trial order. So we've got a couple deadlines coming up, and that's going to really be it for sort of the update. Here, August 23rd, the trial date is gone, so that's been deleted from the calendar. August 17th, we've got a pre-trial conference vacated, and then we're going to be reconvening on September 6th for the actual pre-trial deadline. And so I'm already seeing right where this is going. Jason on Blast says, hopefully this won't become a political trial during election time. Sort of reading the writing on the walls, right? We're going to be talking about abortion and all sorts of stuff as the election nears. And it's pre-trial motions now, September 6th. And then the elections will be coming up right around the corner. And we'll see, how this all unfolds as the prosecution continues. But we don't hear a lot of it from a lot of people in the media. We do hear a lot of the litany about, domestic violent extremists, but they're in one category of people. They're not in the other category of people who are screaming to go protest at judges' houses, which is a crime, or who are disclosing their addresses all over the internet. Don't see much of that. Now, there's another story that came out from Fox News They give us a little bit more detail, saying that the FBI actually executed a search warrant for this guy's residence, and there was some pretty chilling online postings on here. Here's what it says. A newly unveiled FBI search warrant shows the man accused of attempting to assassinate Judge Kavanaugh meticulously planned the alleged plot. FBI search warrant says that he searched and Googled, quote, how to be stealthy, which is something that you'd want to search for, right? If you're going to go assassinate somebody, how to do it in a stealthy fashion. Also Googled assassin skills, maybe a book on Amazon, I don't know. Most effective place to stab someone in the weeks leading up to the planned attack. And, I don't really know what the answer to that question is. I probably could guess, but don't Google it. Here, I'm going to stop. He told another internet user in an online conversation, he says, I'm going to stop Roe versus Wade from being overturned. The other user said, what are you trying to do? He said, remove some people from the Supreme Court. The person Roske speaking with said, 2 dead judges ain't going to do nothing. The whole government is F. You got to kill them all. Roske said, yeah, but I could at least get one, which could change the votes for the decade to come. And I'm shooting for all 3. What? I'm shooting for all 3. All major decisions of the past 10 years have been along party lines. So if there are more liberal judges than conservatives, they're going to have power. The newly released document also says that Roske was planning on targeting at least 2 other members of the court, but did not identify them. He used an email address called HelenKiller1969 at gmail.com. Said that he had a plan to kill the justice and so on, right? And so obviously, right, look, I don't think he's a well individual, and I hope that he does get well. There are a lot of unwell people, and I do hope he gets well. But the point is, we'll see if the government creates a committee to go and investigate all of the lefties. I doubt it. But if you did enjoy that, I would appreciate it if you subscribed, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.